This is Housebound. I'm Chris,
I'm Holly.
I'm Ashlyn.
I'm Greg.
and you're invited.
Welcome to Housebound, a podcast we made because we needed company. In it, we talk about things that are on our mind, and today we're talking about, conspiracy theories.
That's exciting.
That's
I
what
love that.
So you're going to end with ooh. Today we're talking about ooh.
Ghosts. That's
Onomatopoeia. Ooh.
That's fun.
No, today we're talking about conspiracy theories. So, obviously, we made this podcast partially because we were in a pandemic and we needed company because we could not visit each other in the same room. And there was another thing that grew in increasing popularity during the pandemic, and that would be weird health-related / government-related conspiracies. So I did some digging, and there are a lot of conspiracy theories out there, and some of them are bonkers.
I mean, I think we touched a little bit on the health ones
Yeah.
from our wellness episode, but not so much the conspiracy theory side, just like...
Boy, oh boy,
Yeah.
are there more. There's like a whole section that's just like people they think are dead and replaced with like actors or somebody impersonating
like,
that person.
Ivanka Trump.
List one. There's
Okay.
probably a conspiracy theory. If they have above like a certain level of income, at some point, somebody thought that they died and were replaced by somebody else. But
Why?
I thought we'd just start with talking around the circle and listing some conspiracy theories that you're familiar with and or
Support.
support. Yeah. Is there any that you believe? This is a safe space. I know I just trashed conspiracy theories for the last, Chris can check it, but it's like 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, about that.
And, but you know, it's a safe space.
To be trashed.
For you to
ridiculed
admit
about.
this secret side of yourself that I will judge our friendship against. Okay.
All right. Jumping right in.
I think if I was a listener, the conspiracy theory I would be thinking about is, where was Greg the last 2 minutes? 'Cause he didn't say a word or laugh at all.
You don't think my jokes are funny?
Greg
No, I
definitely...
do.
now
but-
you're in trouble.
But I was intentionally being quiet.
Greg,
Oh,
we definitely
okay.
didn't
Yeah,
just
that's what he
restart
said.
Greg.
Yeah,
Restart him.
We didn't
He
just
wasn't
reboot him.
buffering for 2 minutes.
I was buffering.
He wasn't
Yeah.
compiling his updates. For 2
Remember?
minutes.
Yeah, sorry, he
one of
was
those-
Windows. So.
Yeah.
Remember one of those last podcasts that we had where we were like, Greg was trying to speak and he literally said, this is what humans say. Yeah, we found out
Yeah.
then that he's an android and we
Yeah.
have to reboot him sometimes.
Mhm.
Correct. Anybody
Okay.
else have conspiracy theories?
Yeah.
They're easy to make.
There's so
Very
many.
easy to make.
I'll probably not think of them until we start talking about them. The most I would say, like Ashlyn, you're touched on there. The most widely, or the most easily remembered ones
Mhm.
are the ones of people that have been replaced by people. So or just like people that are they think that people are dead, but they're not actually dead. Whether they're
Yeah.
replaced or not, they're just like in hiding. So you've got like Elvis and Michael Jackson and Princess Diana.
Mhm.
And
They don't think they're dead?
No.
no, they don't
Why
think that
would
they're
they
dead.
hide?
Well, okay, so there's conspiracy theories that they are replaced, but the prominent ones are that they are just... I don't know why they would hide. It's that maybe they were...
Like,
I don't know. I haven't looked too far
One
into
of
it.
the
I just know it's a
craziest
thing.
things-
It's just a cultural thing. I don't know.
but this is one of the craziest things that I don't understand about conspiracy theories. And we'll probably get to something that I'm like, yeah, that has validity or something like that in some form. So probably this next statement like also applies to me.
Mhm.
But I never understand the why. Like, the moon landing didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Why?
Because the government is
why
trying
on
to
earth?
prove that, or the government is trying to suggest that we did something, when it's really just
It's beyond our capabilities.
Yeah, because
But, like, why?
alien
Why
technology
put the
was
money
discovered
into
and
it?
it well
Like, why put the time into it?
Well, they might say that they didn't.
What?
It was the
Why
government
put-
that put so
why-
much time into trying to get us all to believe the moon landing.
Why put money
Yeah,
into
but,
the
like,
conspiracy
why?
theory? Like Stanley Kubrick directed the moon landing.
Yeah.
But why? Like, what was the purpose of directing it, like faking it, as opposed to like it could have just happened, couldn't it? Or why did they just not fake anything? Like, why just not do that? And I
Well,
haven't gotten too far into the
but they
theories
usu-
to know that.
I
reason.
feel like with the moon landing, it would be that they did that because it was less expensive to just film it. and
Oh, you're
pretend
saying that they
But
wanted
why
to see
do
the
it at
prestigious.
all?
They wanted the prestige and the
Mhm.
credit
Yeah,
from
to take
landing on the moon.
Because
Okay.
the whole point was the space race, right?
Mm.
Between
Well, for
them
sure.
and Russia and...
But I can't imagine
was,
that the
uh,
space race would be real if we're at the point where we're just gonna fake
No, but it was
anyway.
a perceived space race.
Yeah, but-
Russia didn't make it up. They were also doing their own little film crew in the water.
The issue comes in if anybody else lands on the moon now and sees no
Oh
U.S.
my
flag there,
goodness.
they'll be like, "Uh-oh."
Oh, they're planning another one. Did you hear that?
Yes, but
For,
what
like,
I'm
2
saying is
years
that
from
if
now or
anybody
something
like that?
other than
Yeah.
America
Ooh.
lands on the moon
Sending
next
some women.
and sees no American flag,
Yeah.
Be like,
then
it blew away in the wind.
well,
What?
yes, the copious amounts of wind that the moon has.
Oh man, that's the conspiracy theory that I always think of when somebody says the words conspiracy theory.
Mhm.
I know that
I
there's like
definitely do as
way
well.
crazier ones because that one is so incredibly like innocuous.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, it whether they did it or not, it really doesn't hurt anybody in particular.
Yeah,
Like-
it would more just be like
It hurts people's reputations,
Mhm.
maybe.
people's reputation.
but
It
not-
hurts the perception of
Mhm.
like discovery and exploration, and like
Well, I don't know about the perception of those things, but the perception of the American government doing those things. Sure. But like really it doesn't hurt anybody. It's not going to make anybody ill.
okay.
You know, stuff like that.
For example, as a child, I thought that we had explored way more planets than we had. I thought that space travel was a thing.
That's because you read science fiction.
Yeah, but I heard about the moon landing. I was like, that was ages ago. We must have like hit so many planets by now.
Yeah.
And then you
I
learned
found out
how big space
it was a lie. It was all a lie, and that we hadn't actually done much exploring. We had just pitifully done a quick hop over to the moon, and then came back and we're like, woo!
We own space
We're
now.
good now for like
own
70
space.
years, So
either that
70
or
years.
I don't know. when
either
was
that
the
or it
moon
might have been
landing?
like we
The-
killed
it was
12 people or
moon
14
landing was
people
in
in the last decade or
1969.
two trying to get to the
Okay,
moon. So let's
close
maybe not
enough.
do that anymore
Yeah.
for a little while. Let's just take a break, take a breather.
I think it was the first moon landing was in the 1950s. Though. That's
no.
my theory, guys.
as opposed to
Nobody else holds that theory.
1969. I'm just making it up so that I'm right.
I see. I don't know if this is. I guess it would be a conspiracy theory. When I think of conspiracy theories, I think of the ones
Mhm.
where like people have been replaced and nefariously.
Yeah.
like the twin one.
So there's the famous one about what's her face from the remake of The Parent Trap,
Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay Lohan.
What?
When she was in The
Yes.
Parent Trap.
Yeah.
The really like Cliff's Notes version of this conspiracy theory, because I don't want to get too far into it in case we touch on it or we want to talk about anything else this episode, or any other conspiracy theories this episode. But Lindsay Lohan has this. I don't know if it was a sister or a cousin, or I think it was just like she had a twin, I think is how it
Okay.
was.
Yeah.
And they used the twin in The Parent Trap. And The Parent
Oh.
Trap was like one of her first films. I don't know if it was her first, but it was one of her first things. And so the reason for people thinking that there was a twin and not just the use of like green screen or something
Yeah.
like that,
The acting was phenomenal.
well, the acting was good, but it was the editing of the movie was way beyond the capabilities of what people are somehow able to do nowadays even. And it was like seamless editing. And I think people are reading obviously into it
Yeah.
a little bit more than is there because they want to believe it because it's a conspiracy theory. But and then the reason that it was never talked about that she had this twin and it was just promoted as Lindsay Lohan playing both halves is because the twin dies in some car accident weeks before the release of the movie, and they didn't want to taint the release of the movie because Disney's this media money-making
Monster.
propaganda monster thing. corporation, so they just care about the money, and so they have some like quiet funeral for this twin, but then they just change up all of the marketing and release the market. And I was like, well, there's already marketing out there, but maybe they somehow pulled back marketing that had been put out. I don't know what, I can't remember too much about it, but is that there was this twin died, and rather than taint the movie and have it do poorly, they just make it be like, this girl played 2 characters and played them really well.
I just want to know how many, because when I think of conspiracy theorists, I think of like maybe men that don't get outside as much as maybe they should and spend maybe too much time in basements.
Watching The Parent Trap.
And I just I'm just picturing them like rewatching The Parent Trap like 30 times in an evening and be like,
really
right
good.
there, there she is.
You see, when they cross, they actually cross.
Who like knows The
Yeah.
Parent Trap better than anybody else.
Yeah. So there's ones like that, and that seems nefarious, but then there's ones that don't seem nefarious, like the prominent one of how Keanu Reeves is immortal, and there's proof
yeah.
of his existence over the last
Throughout
of his existence
time.
for the last like 800 or 900 years or something like that.
He does
And
have that look about him.
anyways, and so people have been like making
Immortal,
docs. So I don't know, would you consider that conspiracy? Like,
He
is
looks the
what is the
same.
what is
He
the
does in
Webster's
The Matrix.
dictionary
He does.
definition of
No.
conspiracy?
No, surprisingly,
Not
I
at
didn't go to
all.
that.
Mindless.
No.
That beard.
The dictionary definition of conspiracy theories is a belief that some covert but influential organization is responsible.
Oh, covert.
You're right. That is what that word is.
I was like, some convert what?
Okay.
Yeah, I was
start
like,
over.
what?
was
I
that?
didn't read it ahead of time. I promise I am literate.
Coming at you live on the Housebound podcast. First try. First take.
Take 2. Doot-doot.
No, take 1.
Oh, yes, of course. A belief that some covert but influential organization is responsible for a circumstance or event. But I think colloquially, conspiracy theory really just stands for, like, it doesn't have to be a system of power or influence or
yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. It's mostly just a belief that catches on that may have, like, limited viability, but is popular amongst a niche group.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, like the idea that Keanu Reeves is immortal isn't some group
Yeah.
Mhm.
making it seem
Governing
like he's
body
immortal.
that's- Yeah.
There's nothing
It's
for him
just-
to gain from
Yeah.
that other than in
Well,
his own
wow.
personal just enjoyment of seeing how
Yeah.
people age and progress through the years and
His
get
personal
get to be in a bunch of movies.
of
and
watching
then-
people
I mean, they
get
could
old and
develop a
die.
religion out of it. So
I guess so.
You know, depending on your ego,
That's
it
true.
might be worth it.
Ugh. Can you
So do you have any other examples?
Well, I think
Or-
what's
Or are there like, or sorry, not examples, but I mean like, are there other groupings of examples? Because we've
Genres
talked,
of
yeah,
conspiracy
like we've
theories?
talked about people that have
I have
been
another
replaced
one.
or dead that aren't actually dead or something.
Like
but
real traumatic world events that didn't happen,
Oh
like
yeah.
the Holocaust.
Oh yeah.
oh, so
that's
like
a whole
Like, that's a
category.
whole denial.
category.
so we're
Yeah.
thinking, yeah. So
That's-
I was thinking in
yeah.
terms of things that aren't true. Whereas people are taking things that are
Are
true,
true.
saying
Mhm.
that they
Saying
aren't,
Yeah.
as opposed
Or like
the opposite.
9/11 and you know the
Mhm.
Twin Towers and
Yeah.
all of that. So
Oh, 9/11. There's so many conspiracy
there's
theories
so many
around that.
Yeah.
There's so many people.
Well, because it was
On
such
the
a
internet.
global event that was
Yeah.
I think just world shocking. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I agree that the category of like people saying that something that it did happen didn't happen is, but those make more sense to me because it's almost always a group that has something that they want to get through or a belief that is contrary to that thing happening, and they're like, no, it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like to prove that I
yeah.
don't know, not neo-Nazism is a good thing. They would
Mhm.
say, no, the Holocaust didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that at least has some, I mean, it's not good logic, but it has some logic behind it. Some of
it supports
some
an
other
agenda
ones. Yeah,
Mhm.
it supports
Without-
an agenda. I can
without-
see why
without
people would
affirming-
think that.
without affirming maybe negative, like stereotypes or maybe not stereotypes, but negative truths about
Yeah.
something.
Maybe
It like supports it without coming out right and being like, this is good. It's just like, well, I don't know if that happened the way that you said that it did. And you see doubt
Yeah, I
and
guess
then
so.
gaslight, I guess.
Another type though that I can think of is also like flat Earth believers.
Yeah, there's
Where
a lot
it's-
of science adjacent.
Yeah,
ones.
where it's so it's not denying something, or well, it is kind of denying something inadvertently, but it is very much like I feel like it's. I don't know. Is there other ones that are like taking an ancient belief and carrying it through to the?
Like pyramids are made by
Century?
aliens kind of
Yes,
thing?
100%.
Yeah.
There are other ones. Almost all of them are health related.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So something like that.
Mm-hmm. It's a big thing in the health community that, oh, this is an ancient cure for this, and people
right.
have been keeping it a secret from you.
Health
my
adjacent
goodness.
community.
Yeah, health adjacent community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I were to say, like, I know initially when I brought up the topic of conspiracy theories, the question was like, why? Like, why do these things propagate? Why do people like still keep
Where do they
believing
come
them
from?
or
Yeah.
circulating them? Where are these coming from? Yeah. And as I've looked at different lists of conspiracy theories, I would say that most conspiracy theories are developed because of one of two reasons.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, something terrible happened and you need to be able to process it. It needs to be able to make sense within your worldview. And because it doesn't make sense in your worldview, something else has to happen in order to make that true, even if that thing is less probable.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of the, like, if you read Life of Pi in high school, a lot of the themes that book covers is like, if something terrible happens, do we ever like change the story to make something that
to make it less
terrible for ourselves?
Are we talking
And
about like a
sometimes-
PTSD response where you like you actually believe?
I think
'Cause, like-
sometimes it's just like something terrible that's happening, and you like it doesn't make sense that this is even in the world. It doesn't have to be something like super, super duper traumatic. But there's quite a few people who believe that, like, for example, the U.S. government was involved in the 9/11 attacks.
I mean, I'd say that's traumatic.
That was an inside job, but it was
Right.
it was something that happened that didn't fit the current American worldview of how they viewed themselves and their safety. And so we have to
Like
change the
how
truth.
could this possibly have happened? Are we that insecure? Like, are we
The
that security?
the only group with enough
less
power to do this to us
is ourselves. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we're nobody else is capable of doing damage to us. So there must be a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I actually read recently that there was a article published. It was the day after the attacks. There was like I can't remember. I'm gonna just say a number here, and I don't know that it's right, but I want to say 47-page document that was published the next day. That was like, look, guys, like these resources within the government, we knew that they were capable of this, and they did this, and they had written it as not like a manifesto, but like along those lines of like this thing is happening and you open your eyes, guys.
Yeah.
Less than a day later.
Here's the interesting thing.
How are people so quick on this? Somebody must have been like writing this ahead of time already. Like,
one of the things that makes the governmental ones specifically feel more, not that I'm saying that any of them that I have heard are legitimate, but makes them feel more legitimate is the fact that we do know for a fact that the government classifies things and keeps things from us.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's already this legitimate
system in place to keep things from people.
of distrust from the government to its people. And I would say all governments, right? Because no government, even in like the microcosm of like a household, mom and dad are not going to tell the kids all the things all the time,
or
right?
in some cases, maybe not even the truth. Like,
Santa,
actually
baby.
straight up leave them out of what the truth is,
Right.
for their own safety, maybe, or whatever.
Or for whatever reason, for fun. Like, not for the parents' fun, but for the kids' fun, maybe, like Santa, like...
Sure.
Like, people lie to people.
Yeah.
So there's this, like, legitimate way that you can go, well, is the government capable of that? Like, I don't actually know them. They're not, like, this open, transparent organization that I can trust fully. And they never will be.
And they
And
wouldn't
so-
want them to be open either.
No,
And even-
nobody would
because
want them
you
to
wouldn't.
be.
Even at like a base level though, like we see politicians, like they campaign on promises that we know that they won't keep. Like all the
Yeah.
way from the get-go, it's there's a distrust that's just inherent in
It's
politics.
like built in. Like you say the words, and then you may try to follow up the action with actions, but people know that you can't possibly,
which
with
is why
everything.
supporters of both sides can have really good, compelling arguments. 'Cause
Yes.
it's like, everyone's not doing what they should be.
Yeah.
So. Neither are great, but like,
Yeah. But I think that's those specific ones that are like, oh, the government was involved in this. The government, like for some of them anyway. For the moon landing, I don't see a point in putting the money into that, all of that. And for 9/11, I don't see a point unless there was something that was like,
well, the theory behind that is that they wanted
really
a
wanted
reason to go to war. That was the reason behind it. They wanted a reason to.
But then they really sucked at the war. So like, I don't know.
Well, it depends on what their goal was. There, and then that's where the conspiracy theory
tighten-
changes over time,
tighten
right?
security, or
Sure,
like,
yes.
right? There would have had to be somebody
Big
pulling
brother.
the strings, but that's so fictional. Like it's so.
But-
Sherlock
Okay,
Holmes
to an
versus
extent-
what's
but
his
to
face?
an
Who's
extent
what's his
not,
face?
right?
Okay.
Who's what's his face in Sherlock Holmes?
Moriarty.
Moriarty.
Yeah.
It's so Moriarty.
Yeah.
Like who is that person? They're not real.
It's a chessboard.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not real.
Here's something that's like kind of interesting because I was just reading about this at my job. That's directly related, which is very rarely happens. Like I help with data stuff at the real estate board office here, which
Lies.
is yes, exactly. Hey,
We distrust Greg.
Yeah.
But a part of whenever a real estate transaction takes place, what has to happen is there are forms that are sent to this specific organization that is in charge of monitoring data that suspicious data of people who could be money laundering. So and
For every house purchase.
yeah, for house purchase specifically, because
Crazy.
that can happen, and just
I guess
money
so.
laundering, terrorist stuff. Anyway, so and what sparked this as a global initiative was 9/11. And there was plans to put it into motion before 9/11, but 9/11 just like expedited everything.
Interesting.
So that's where like an event like this can make other things happen more quicker, and in the background. So I could see some conspiracy theorists. I'm giving them ammo right now. Being like, see, that's why this is all because the government wanted to crack down on and create this and put pressure to create this organization that now influences all real estate transactions. And,
So it's just a general distrust.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a distrust of I won't say reliable sources, but prominent sources
Powerful.
of information. Sure,
Yeah.
powerful sources. So there's a vaccination for this virus or this disease or a drug for this, the cure for that. Well, is it actually, or is it going to be something that they microchip us with, and then they're able to track us?
That was a good one.
Or like as an example, but like, oh, there's something here that's helpful, or something that's coming down the line that could be helpful, and then there's one side that longs for that, and so maybe perpetuates or exacerbates what's actually real. So like, well, we're on the way to discovering a way that these two cells interact, and those are cells that are found in cancer patients, and if we can figure out a way that they interact, then we could maybe be on the road to a cure. And then suddenly somebody goes, they're on the way to finding a cure for cancer, and then somebody else is like, there's no way they would ever find a cure for cancer, because if they find a cure for cancer, they're going to lose money because they can't sell drugs and you can't have chemotherapy.
The
So then
actual
you have
one
two
right now
sides of
is
it that are
that they've already
perpetuating it.
found it and they are hiding it from us because of big pharma.
Right. And so
Yeah.
like there's
Cancer
it's
is
like
totally curable.
both sides as an example. And so yeah, it's just this distrust, and it's like people don't even, and like they don't even trust each other. They don't even trust their and then we look at like post-apocalyptic movies, which are fictional obviously, but people turn on each other
so good.
immediately in those movies, and people are just like, no, we're like I need to eat. It's their pet that I'm taking. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't care about them. I'm gonna break into their house in the middle of the night and
just
steal
not
all their
okay.
food. I'm gonna,
Yeah.
like it's all about me. It's
all
all for
selfishness.
yourself. And so
Yeah.
so that's like a very interesting
Mm-hmm.
perspective to like
When I
think
think
of.
about the government coordinating
Yeah.
something big, I just think of all of the bureaucracy and how many people there you would need to keep like in the loop.
And Kate,
Or
And it
to
would just
keep
be
out of the loop.
Yeah.
It would just be so disastrous. Now, can I see a CEO being able to coordinate something and pay enough money to just make it happen? Sure.
Sure, on a small scale, maybe.
Even
Well,
a big scale.
I think that's where if
Money, baby.
if the government were to do anything, it would have to be limited to a very small amount of people because we know government, it works so slowly
So
at
slow.
everything.
That's what they want us to
They
think.
still get you to fax stuff in. It's like get to the 21st century,
Yeah,
like at
yeah.
least email.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as I was saying, I think like one of the reasons conspiracy theories start is because something happens and it doesn't fit with what you believe to be true, and so something else has to be true in order to make that thing make sense in your world. And so I think we saw that a bit with COVID at the beginning. There was a huge amount of people that were just complete COVID deniers, that there was ever even this global pandemic, that we should stay inside at all because COVID doesn't even exist. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, it was unbelievable that this huge thing could be on the entire world within what seemed like weeks.
Or days. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And so that seemed completely unbelievable. And so what truth they had to add to it was that this was all planned, that this was not actually real, stuff like that.
well, and it was very eerie walking outside.
It was,
and
yeah.
seeing
It was
nothing.
scary.
Like it was
no
like
people.
ghost town.
Mm-hmm. So, but I think another core reason why conspiracy theories pop up is the desire that people have to like be on the inside. That like,
Yes.
I
Right.
am
I
on
have the
I am
truth.
on this core like niche group that actually knows what's going on. And I think that's a bit of like a human desire that a lot of us have in different areas, you know, when you are able to be like, oh, this is what's going on, you know. There's so many instances, even just within like how much is power just wanting to know and be on the inside and have that like secret knowledge
It
of
is
what's
why
going on.
I hate and always have hated those terrible games that are like, we're going on a camping trip and I'm bringing something that starts I'm bringing a table
Yeah.
or whatever, and you have to figure out the
No, you
pattern,
can't
and
come.
everyone, and no, you can't come. Well, screw you, Beth.
Yeah.
Go play in the street. Like, I just want to be involved. I want to
Yeah.
be with everybody else on their stupid fictional camping trip.
So for
Yeah.
people who don't know what this game is, essentially everyone's in on a secret except for one person, right?
Well, no.
Or is it
it's
like-
one person starts the game and they say, I'm going on a camping trip and I'm bringing a horse.
Right.
And that's, they
They start
chose
up
horse
they start up a
because it's-
pattern or
They start a
Yeah.
pattern.
yeah.
And then you have
Like
to catch
the
on to
third
the
letter is
pattern.
R or something.
Or like it's
Or
because
double
the
letters,
first my
or-
first name starts with H,
So
and
you
so
have to
the
pick
thing
things
started
with
with H, and so you couldn't pick something with H. You would have to pick something with G,
Mm.
right? But whatever the pattern is, they're always different. You, as the outsiders in the group, have to figure out what the pattern is, and then you take a turn, like guessing
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And if you get it wrong because they know what the pattern is and you don't, then you can't come. And if you get it right, then they go, yeah, you can come.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you have to figure out what the pattern
Yeah.
is. It's
So,
terrible.
Some people enjoy. It's like you don't see it this way, obviously, but it's like a puzzle. Like some people enjoy
yeah.
figuring out the puzzle.
If
Mhm.
it was
Some
a
people
puzzle.
just don't enjoy being left out.
Yeah.
So
Because that's what it is. It's a social puzzle.
so
And that's too hard.
I spent-
that's terrible.
I spent
A
about
paper puzzle is great.
I spent about a decade working at a summer camp, and in the later years that I was there in the summers, I was on the staff, not the staff that like stayed with the kids in the cabins
Mhm.
all the time kind of staff, but like what you might consider support staff or program staff, and kind of running the events for the kids. And so there's almost a separation amongst the staff in that sense,
Mhm.
where some of them are with the kids all the time and
Yep.
some of them just aren't. And the ones that just aren't are usually in the production side of things or the planning side of things, or have some know in the back, like more know. They're more in the know than the staff that are with the kids, because they're worried about the kids and you're not. So there were times when information would be available about, I don't know, something like maybe there was an emergency, and as like the program or support staff, you kind of feel like you're almost entitled to know what's going on so that you can know how to navigate the planning around that emergency, or around that, maybe it's a surprise that's happening. But then that wouldn't always get disseminated further than like a point person for the staff. And I remember feeling like, well, that's stupid. Like,
Yeah, no.
like
Why can't I know?
I want to know about that, and
Yeah.
it wouldn't lead us to the point of a conspiracy theory, but it would lead us to that feeling of not being in the know and desiring to be in the know.
Yeah.
And so I can understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
People feel special when they're part of a group, for sure.
So I think that's kind of where things like the 5G and COVID came out of, that there's a connection between those two.
So many good
I think that's
ones
a
about
desire to
Yep.
be in the know, to know what's going on, because this thing seemed to come out of nowhere, so it can't have come out of nowhere. And
Well, like this all reminded me of like in my own kind of studies into early Christianity and stuff, that there was a specific group called the Gnostics, which Gnosticism, like that's the it's
The
related
root.
to the Greek word for knowledge.
Yeah.
And so essentially it's the whole point of this was that we know what's happening, and as you get deeper and deeper into this, more knowledge will be revealed to you. Very similar to probably like Scientology and like that kind of like where
Well,
there's levels, right?
I think that's the whole like Masons as well.
Freemasons?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's one of
Very
their
true.
big things, is that
Yeah.
the higher up you get in the system, then the more you know about what's actually running the world.
Yeah, which I think like it gives at least me a good warning for, as I'm a part of Christianity, I need to make sure that I carry a sense of humility with the knowledge that I have, not of superiority, because I think you can get into that sort of, and I think that's where these groups start from, is this sense of entitlement, or this sense of like, hey, I know what's what, these people don't, and so it's a good warning there.
But I mean, it's a great way to get people to buy stuff from you.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I want to be part of the group, so I must have an Apple phone. That kind of thing. And the manipulation of the masses through just being left out.
FOMO.
Yeah.
So there was a study done not actually that long ago. I think it was in May in Canada, from a company called Abacus Data. They do mostly political polling, but this study was published by a lot of different popular news outlets, and they did a poll on 1,500 Canadians, which, to be fair, isn't huge.
Small.
But they
Not a large
provided,
poll.
because they are a statistics company, they provided quite a bit of information about why they believe that it would represent a representative sample within this much of percent agreement. And it's their data looks pretty good. So they're mostly interested in politics. So a lot of this, they separate out by party and stuff like that. But looking at all of Canadians, what percentage of Canada do you think believe the following statement? Big events like wars, recessions, and the outcomes of elections are controlled by small groups of people working in secret against us.
What was
89%.
what percentage of these people?
What percentage of
they asked?
Canada
Oh,
agrees?
so 1,000 people had to answer this question
1,500, yeah.
on what they thought Canada.
Oh, for themselves. This is individual.
Oh,
So
I
based
see-
on
I
their
see.
answers, what percentage of
I
Canadians?
understand.
Of the
Okay.
sample
It
size.
represents Canada.
Yeah. I hope it's just
I'm
20.
45. 45%.
I'm going with 20
89.
because I'm an optimist.
You were wrong when we did our. Just remember during season 2 at the very beginning when we did the New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, resolutions.
Yeah.
You were like, "Oh, I'm super optimist," and it was like 4%. Actually, I shouldn't say you were wrong because you had the data in front of you. It was Ashlyn that was wrong, so this will be interesting.
Okay.
Well, Chris, you were shockingly close. It's
What was-
44%.
44.
Which is the equivalent
Sad.
to 13 million Canadian adults that believe that large events like wars, recessions, and the outcomes of elections are controlled by a small group of people working in secret against us.
Yeah. I can't imagine that they're controlled. Influenced, perhaps?
Maybe.
But by a large,
but-
by groups of people working
Working
in
in
secret,
for
I
what
think it's.
they want.
I think it's very
Just like
obvious that
planned
they are working.
obsolescence, baby.
Yeah. So here's another one. I'm going to ask you again, what percentage of Canada do you believe said yes, that they agree to the following statement?
7.
There is a group of people in this country who are trying to replace native-born Canadians with immigrants who agree with their political views.
What the
This is an
heck?
What?
articulation of what is commonly referred to as replacement theory.
63%.
I'm sorry. Can
you
you
say that
it
again?
again?
Yep.
It has to be at least as many people as vote conservative.
I have never heard that.
There is a
And
Hopefully
that's a bit of an
PPC.
a bit of an overstatement,
Yeah.
tongue in cheek, but
there is a group of people in this country who are trying to replace native-born Canadians with immigrants who agree with their political views.
Replace.
Yeah, what are they
What
doing
does that
with the ones
mean?
that they're
part of me
not-
thinks
they
a
don't want?
lot higher than, what did I say, 68 or 64?
63.
Mhm.
63?
Stick
Now
to
that I'm
numbers.
thinking about it, a lot
I-
more, because why wouldn't you want somebody in your country that would agree with
I'm still gonna say
the
7.
powers,
I want.
right?
I
Fair
am
play.
13.
hopeful in humanity.
I think I feel a little sick that this is even a thing.
So replacement theory is apparently a thing,
Oh,
but
gosh.
it's 37%.
Oh gosh.
That is
Wow.
still
That's less.
11
Huge.
million people in Canada. I had no idea that this was so popular, but I was I looked at a few different studies of like percentage of conspiracy theories in Canada specifically, and replacement theory is a big one. I'm like blown away by what? Like,
Well,
how does that
I
even
guess-
work?
It's very
I guess
easy
it's
for people
not-
to think that
That's
immigrants
how
are
they
stealing our
explain-
jobs, because I
Yeah.
hear that.
yeah.
I hear that perpetuated.
And now
And so-
immigrants are stealing Canadians? Like,
Yeah.
Oh no! Sorry. Oh, I misunderstood your question. I assumed that you were just talking about replacing them in like the workforce. You're talking about
Literally.
physically replacing them
Replacing them
in the
altogether.
country.
it just said like they're trying to replace native-born Canadians with immigrants who agree with their political views. I think it's more like
It has to be that they're not like swapping places with them. It has. Or,
No,
like,
it's not
How do you
actually
get rid of the
stopping.
Canadians.
You kill them, like
It's more like
right? Don't
that,
you?
like,
I don't know. This is.
that
Did I just take this a
Canadians
dark turn?
Yep.
like
Okay.
move out of the country or whatever, and then they let in immigrants who agree
Go
with
to their
whatever
houses?
political view that they
And
have.
then like pretend to be them, like with
Yeah.
their identities, and then it's
No.
like taken or not taken. What was that one with Liam Neeson, where unknown, where all of a
Oh,
sudden like
yes.
his wife doesn't recognize him, and
I haven't seen
No.
that.
It's where he doesn't. It's on our
it's
shelf.
people who don't recognize him essentially, like as who
Oh.
he says, like.
It's people.
Anyways,
That's
Plot twist.
crazy.
Spoiler alert. They're pretending not to recognize him.
right.
Uh-huh.
Which is why
But because there's a conspiracy. Well, it's sort of like a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
So-
So let's just be clear. The 36% of Canadians believe that this is happening, not that it should happen.
That it is actively happening.
Okay.
That whether or not they believe that it should happen, which I mean,
Right,
if you believe that
right.
it's happening, you're believing
So,
that
like,
it's happening.
If the PPC got into government, maybe I'd believe that it was happening.
Yeah. So of PPC voters,
Oh,
people who would
heavens.
vote
Oh,
PPC,
no.
72%
yeah, okay,
Oh.
that makes sense.
believe in
Yeah.
replacement theory.
So when I said
But even
conservative
amongst-
earlier,
Yeah.
A really good
forgetting that
rubric
there's
for
modern
determining whether or
conservative.
not a belief is legitimate. If it's
whether the PPC
Yes.
believes
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
that's a great rubric for everyone who's not PPC.
Yeah.
Use that to determine.
If this is batshit crazy or not.
Yeah. Of the
Goodness.
PPC, so for this poll, for each question they gave 3 options. They said like one option was like definitely/probably. The middle option was like possibly/not sure.
Right.
And then the third option was not true at all.
Mhm.
So of PPC,
we've gone way too long not clarifying for anybody that isn't aware what PPC is. It's a political party of Canada.
Yes.
It's a political party in Canada. PPC stands for the People's Party of Canada and is a more recent in the last several years, like taken like an upswing.
Slightly more popular.
It became
scary.
very very
Terrifying.
apparent to myself during COVID, but it was around before then.
It lot of
it just
followers.
it just wasn't as like aggressively obvious before then. So they're a very like whatever you think of conservative as being a right leaning party.
Times it by 1,000.
Think of like the gauge falling off the chart in that direction
Yeah.
for PPC. It's just
hanging loosely on the
and
other
and
end.
you can go check them out online, but
Yeah.
it's quite
It
quite
will make
shocking
you sick to your
sometimes.
stomach if
Well,
you check them out
or
online.
or it might align with your values. I don't know. I don't know
I don't
who you
think they listen to us if that's the case.
are. Maybe not
don't
after this
know.
one.
Yeah.
We're pretty much on the other side of the
But anyways,
yeah.
political
so you were
scale
saying,
there.
Ashlyn, I
So
interrupted.
those trying to the people who believe that in replacement theory, I had mentioned 72% of PPC voters, but I was quite surprised. So the political party that had the smallest number of people who would agree with that statement was the Green Party
Okay.
at 27%,
Wait.
which still
Oh,
seems
that's
very
still
high.
high.
sorry. The smallest percentage of the party as a whole that would agree with that?
No, the within it broke down each party, and
Yeah.
for the people who said that they would vote in that party, what did they answer
Yeah.
to the question?
So 27%.
Did they believe in replacement theory?
So 27% of Green Party voters
Yeah.
did.
Believe in replacement
Okay,
theory?
Green
Yes.
Party though, I would put almost as equal, if not maybe lesser.
But that was
than
the smallest
PPC.
number.
Yeah, but 27% of 5 people is like 1.1 people, or like whatever the math is. You know what I mean? Like if you have a
Yes.
party that's made up of 1,000 people and a party that's made up of tens of thousands, 27% is a threshold reached very quickly.
Here's the thing about replacement theory at all.
Yeah.
It's not that a specific group is doing this. It's that any secretive group could be doing this, right? So the
Yeah.
PPC might be thinking that the liberals are
Exactly.
being sneaky and doing
Right.
this,
Yeah.
whereas the Green Party or the liberals think
Might
that
be thinking
no,
The
the PPC
conservatives.
and the conservatives are doing this.
Yeah.
So this replacement theory is just so generalized that anyone could believe at least a portion of it, right?
Yeah.
That someone
guess
is
so.
working insidiously to make this happen.
Yeah.
And they could be replacing them with people of their opposite values.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I guess go hard, little secret societies, because if you're all doing it, you're not going to make a difference.
So of all the ones on this abacus data,
So you're saying they should get together in order
Well,
to make a
no,
difference?
because they can't.
No, they.
Because they're
together we
opposing
cancel each other
values.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could just keep
That's how
doing what they're
equations work.
doing.
So of all the different questions that they looked at in this abacus data report, this replacement theory one was the one that was most concerning to me because it's so high and because it so obviously can connect to having like a negative perception and like racist ideology towards other people. Because if you are highly conservative and you believe that the government is only letting in liberals who disagree with you, then to immigrants in the country, you might not treat them as nice because you
Right.
view them as people who don't agree with you.
And
we should
clarify,
and vice versa.
Conservative leaning.
Yeah.
Like we don't, when we say conservative, we don't always mean like you voted conservative.
CBC,
Therefore,
yeah.
we're talking about you.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a metric which looks like there's a line in the center and you have conservative and liberal.
Mm-hmm.
And you're on one side or the other. And so we're not, please don't think we're lumping everybody into a specific group, but
But
like,
it's
yeah,
dangerous
but
on
it's what
both
you're-
sides.
It's like you
Yeah.
say, there's a lot of those values of like we have to protect this like thing that is our God-given right in that sense.
Like what?
Which
A
is
country?
like our country, our identity, like who, like, and we don't necessarily disagree with additional, like, some of these other values, but if we're taken so far away from a point of what we were originated on or founded on, we're going to lose everything. We're going to lose all track of sense of what we're here to do and what we're capable of doing, and so yeah, and so that's kind of like the bucket, or that's like the side of the graph of like the conservative leaning, and then the liberal leaning side would be more along the lines of like anything goes, you know, like, and so like I understand how people are concerned by either side. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying,
Well, and I can see
trying to
how,
provide some clarity.
yeah, you'd be concerned, Ashlyn, regarding like the racism aspect of this, but because it can connect with anybody on any side, it means that anyone on any side would be suspicious of immigrants.
But it means that immigrants lose every time.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter what.
It doesn't matter who you're dealing with or what political party there are.
Yeah.
There's a percentage of that party that believes that you are there because you disagree with them.
Exactly. That's so interesting and tough.
Yeah.
And terrible.
Wrong.
Going along and adding to the already existing disbelief that somebody else could possibly have somebody else of a not exactly the same belief system could have of not your best interests in mind. And so then that just compounds. And then suddenly it's like, I can't possibly believe them. Not like, well, let's like, is there something to what they're saying, and that we can come together and find like a mutual common ground or a mutual path through this. It's like, nope, that's going to take us down a direction we absolutely don't want to go. And then all further consideration is just cut off right there.
Okay, let's take a look at the next question.
Okay.
So
Will I be
once
horrified
again,
again? Because I'm a little worried.
a little bit.
Oh no.
So what percentage of Canada do you believe said definitely or probably to the following statement? The World Economic Forum is a group of global elites with a secretive strategy to impose their ideas on the world.
You said that the last one was your most concerning one, so it
Yeah,
can't
because
be,
it was high.
It can't be worse than that. So
can't be worse
now I'm
than
going to
70,
say
so
now I'm
60.
60%. Yeah, I
Although-
was going to say 60.
A lot of them have been around a third, so
So 60.
yeah, 60. I feel like that's an easy thing to believe.
Okay, I'll do 61 so that if
42.
I'm closer than you, then I'm
Okay.
So this one is much lower. It is only 22%.
Oh, really?
But that is because 37% said possibly.
right. Yeah.
So the actual, if you
so
can do the mental math,
50% thought plausibly.
42% thought that was not true.
Yeah,
right.
more than 50.
So
just over
the
50.
majority of the country believes
That is true.
There's some
that
possibility
there
to
are
it, yeah.
an economic elite that are running things.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't
yeah.
disagree necessarily.
But it's the secretive strategy to impose their ideas on the world that really gets you.
I don't know.
I just can't see a group of people meeting in a room like, every once a month, doing a board game, and then
well, that's not how I see this question.
live,
I don't see them working together to do
you
it.
see them on Zoom. We've realized how easy
Hilarious.
it is now. Yeah, okay.
No, I don't. When I think about that, I don't think about them doing it together. I think about them having a lot of money and power and wanting to impose their ideals and ideas on the world around them. And so then they do it. And because they are an elite group that has it's
But I
just
feel
that elite group that has the
this
money,
conspiracy-
not specifically a group that's working together.
But I would assume this would imply that they are working together because it's a group, not a group of individuals or a
Maybe.
set of individuals.
I'm just saying maybe the people answering didn't think about it like that.
Maybe not. Yeah.
But yeah, within PPC voters,
Uh-oh.
There's just no statistics outside of that.
92% said
Yeah.
definitely, probably, or possibly.
Yeah. 92 is so high.
That's really
Yeah.
high. That's a red flag.
And it was 89% said definitely, probably, or possibly who did not get the COVID shot.
Okay. I mean, at least they're consistent in their value, in their beliefs.
I guess so.
I mean, yeah, that's the. Yeah. It's like, okay, I watched a video, sort of related, sort of unrelated. I watched a video recently with a guy that was talking about how do you feel? Oh, somebody talking to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he said, "How do you feel about when movies?" And for those of you who don't know, Neil deGrasse Tyson is a very famous
Scientist.
like astrophysicist.
I think he's an astrophysicist.
Yeah, specifically. He talks about some other things too.
He
but
talks about lots.
mostly space.
He seems like he is very knowledgeable. I don't know how knowledgeable he is, or how just maybe cocky he is and just like thinks he knows. No, seriously,
Charismatic.
Yeah. But anyways, besides the point, they asked him, in movies that have wrong science, what is the one movie that's bugged you the most? Like what movie have you watched that has had the most incorrect science? And he goes, it's not so much like when I watch a movie, I can suspend my disbelief and watch the movie, but what bugs me is when their non-scientific science is inaccurate to itself. So if for example for example they think that the moon got bumped out of orbit by a huge meteor or something and is crashing towards the Earth, but then somehow there's like spaceships fly up and push the moon out of the way of the Earth or something like that, like things that like, yes, sure, it couldn't happen that it was coming towards the Earth because of that reason, but it's also much more implausible, not plausible that some spaceships could push it away, like the forces don't, like the math doesn't add up, the science doesn't add up, even in the unscientific universe that this movie exists in. And so that bugged him.
At least be consistent.
That bugged him more. And so all I'm saying is that, like, at least these people I'm trying to give them like a little bit of something. Like they've got things they can work on, but
So last one for the study. What percentage of Canada, we'll start with that one again, said definitely or probably to the following statement: Bill Gates has been using microchips to track people and affect their behavior. Using microchips.
What percentage of Canada believes that Bill Gates is doing this?
This is definitely true. Yeah.
19%.
38%.
What happened to your optimism?
I've lost it.
I feel like this one is not as believable. Like really rich people doing crazy things that is in secret that you can't put your finger on is really easy to maybe believe. But a very specific rich person doing very specific outrageous things that you have never heard of in science, or maybe even in like science fiction. It's not a normal thing in science fiction either, really. I think that's harder to believe.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say 19, and that's just for the PPCers.
You're not that far off. So 12% said definitely. 20% said possibly, and only 68% said that's not true.
Absolutely not.
But the where there's the highest number of people is among those who didn't get the COVID shot.
Yeah.
So that's 31% said definitely Bill Gates is using microchips.
See, like
40% said it might be true, and only 29% said Bill Gates is not using microchips to affect our behavior.
I know that it's like fun to equate it with those same people.
The data works for it. That is the problem.
The data works for it, but like, here's what I'm saying: they're being consistent. So it's like
You're just okay with it.
No. I'm not like saying, oh, I support them that they think that way. I'm just saying that like this isn't going to be perfect because I'm coming up with this off the top of my head, but it's like saying that like most people that enjoy driving cars wear seatbelts. And it's like, yeah, sure, there's some people that don't wear seatbelts, but yeah, of course, most people that enjoy driving cars wear seatbelts because that's a thing that you do when you learn how to drive. And so, of course, the people that would believe in, let's just blanket say, conspiracy theories, of course they're going to also believe in another conspiracy theory easily. Like of course.
Yeah.
So it's like interesting to know that, but at the same time, part of me is like, well, are they just on like a witch hunt for, not a witch hunt, but like are they just like out there to find out who didn't get the COVID shot secretly? Isn't that, maybe it's a conspiracy theory. This
I think
questionnaire was all just to find out who didn't get the COVID shot.
The point of the study, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm pretty sure I heard about this study happening, was to see how Canadians feel about the legitimacy of the COVID-19 vaccine. So like,
okay, so then there was like control questions
it,
as well, is what you're saying? Like,
well, it's just a questionnaire, right? So they're doing it's not a double-blind pharmaceutical trial. Like
yeah,
that's it's not, that doesn't work that way. There's no controls. It's simply that, okay, of the participants that answered that they did not get the shot, what else do they believe?
What do they think? Yeah.
What do they think? And so then we can look at it and look at the statistics and say, okay, maybe I should get the shot because I don't think any of these other things are true.
Mm-hmm.
So why are my beliefs about this one thing lining up with all of these other maybe things that I think are nuts? Or maybe I agree with all of them and then I shouldn't have gotten the vaccine or something like that, right?
Or are they
like
trying
you can
to
look
figure
at it.
out if the vaccine related theories, conspiracy theories, or hesitations are a part of its own thing, or if it's synonymous with the groups of people that also believe these other things?
I think like they're just looking into it, right? They're not trying to prove anything. They're just going, this is what the data says.
I'm not particularly trying to like fight with the data or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying like I agree. It is nice to like look at that data and laugh a bit about it and be like, the PPC, people that don't take COVID seriously. But then I also know people that took COVID seriously temporarily, or like did it because they sensed that there was some benefit to it. But then as soon as that like benefit had worn off, like the period had passed where people were starting to get tired with it, they immediately like abandoned. This doesn't make any sense. We shouldn't have to worry about this anymore. So they kind of like went backwards. It was kind of like they were just following the herd for a bit. And as soon as the herd started to turn, then they also started to turn, even though I don't feel like the majority of people have banished the idea that COVID is or was a thing and think that the shot was good or bad. But yeah, so like that's also interesting is like those people as well.
Well, and it's also interesting because conspiracy theories are really interesting, right? They're interesting to talk about. It's interesting to know that there are people in our lives that think this way. But when you look at like, say, the COVID-19 vaccine, 70%, higher than 70% of Canada, of individuals above a certain age in Canada, got the vaccine and got 2 vaccines and got even their booster, right? So we don't talk about that as much. Like the quote unquote marketing for that is just not as interesting as the outlier groups. And so the outlier groups get a lot of PR, right? Like, because it's just like, it blows you out of the water. It makes you click on an article. It makes you, like, so it's not hard to spread this kind of information because other information is just not as interesting.
Yeah. So I think kind of bringing this all together, there's lots of different conspiracy theories and different brands of them and why people might believe them. But I think one reason that we haven't talked about yet is sometimes conspiracy theories exist because the government has failed us in a lot of ways, and corporations have failed us in a lot of ways. And I think it is healthy to have a certain amount of skepticism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of how big oil pushed climate disinformation
Mm-hmm.
when there was starting to be more conversation about the impacts of climate change, and big oil was really pushing against that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about big tobacco, who was really like lying blatantly about the connection between tobacco consumption and cancer in people. I'm thinking about the whole Snowden situation where, like, yes, the government was spying on people in ways that do seem like a severe breach of privacy and did not want the general population to know about that at all. You know, things like that are situations where the government and large corporations have tried to push misinformation or have lied or have tried to cover something up in the name of power and profits in all of those cases. So maybe it is healthy to have a little bit of skepticism and to maybe, you know, when the World Economic Forum puts out another statement to people know that, like, it's worth questioning, I think, how the people who make up this forum or whatever it is that we're looking at, what would benefit them,
Right.
and are they specifically pushing towards the things that would benefit them, or is this a more balanced approach? Not that I think that we need to go like crazy on like UFOs and the pandemic and 5G and like chemtrails and all of these different things. But I do think that history has told us time and time again that when people get a hold of power, they don't always make the best choices for everybody else. So
Yeah.
No, and I think that's a good perspective to have, because I think I would want somebody who's believing these conspiracy theories to question their own beliefs, or at least like test them. And if I'm not willing to test my own, you know, I can't complain. Like, you know, like I think that I think it's very rare that somebody who I think, like, for example, myself, will actually like go through and test what do I believe, you know, and actually put that up to a rubric. So that's a good perspective.
Like, I was gonna say, and again, this isn't to give people that have like crackpot theories that they believe is that is true the benefit of the doubt necessarily, but like all of us don't. The majority of us, I would assume, I'm just assuming here, would love to not be considered like a bandwagon jumper.
yeah.
And we'd also love to.
Definitely am Kickstarter culture right here. That's what that is.
But like, we also don't want to think in thinking that we aren't just jumping on a bandwagon. We also don't think that we want to, or we also don't want to think that anything that we believe is unfounded. And so when I look at, and so I've watched some documentaries about things like flat Earth, for example, or aliens at Roswell.
Yeah.
And I go into these documentaries going like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm very interested to see what these people that feel like they've had these experiences or this proof, what they believe. And they're like diehard, and you can't disprove them. You can't disprove it, like, no matter how hard you try. But I also feel like there's beliefs that I have that also can't be disproved. And so then it's like a really dangerous, might not be the right word, but it's like a very sketchily balanced way to approach things. Like I feel like I'm on the right side of history personally, with most things anyways. And you know, like yeah. we could dig that. We could dive too far into that.
Let's rip apart Chris.
Let's please not read into that more than like, I guess I have to be specific in order to
dig into that hole that you're digging.
I acknowledge I am white. That's not that.
I have not been replaced.
Well, no. Like what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that I am a part of a group of people that has like never oppressed anybody ever.
Right.
I'm just saying, I feel like my assumptions about the world in general are founded, and I feel like they have generally been proven. I feel like I just happen in many things to align with generally what is accepted, but I also understand that you can't just take something that's being accepted and, like you said, Greg, not prove it, not attempt to prove it. And so just because somebody says something, you don't just jump, kind of thing, right? And yet at the same time, there's a balance of everybody's not out to get you. At least I believe that's something I believe.
Everyone is out to get you.
Yeah. I think a helpful. Did you guys see in social media that it was made in 2020 and then updated in 2021? There's a conspiracy theory chart that's like an upside down triangle.
Never seen
that somebody made. It
Seems
was shared a bunch on
seems
social media.
Illuminati-ish.
Maybe, yeah. On the bottom, it had like things, conspiracy theories or things that did actually happen. Like maybe not the whole truth was true, but a portion of it was. And then the next bracket they called leaving reality, where it's things where there is some genuine questions that can be asked that don't have answers to them, but it's a little bit more improbable. And then the next segment is reality denial. So these are unequivocally false, but they're mostly harmless. So things in that bracket are like Greta Thunberg is a time traveler.
Yeah.
Like,
wait, what?
Or like Elvis is still alive.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know,
that
where,
doesn't hurt.
yes,
doesn't
it's a conspiracy
matter.
theory. It's unequivocally not true.
He hasn't
but
put out
like,
music in ages.
but it's not hurting anybody else.
Yeah.
And then you get a little bit higher to the section where they are dangerous to either yourself or to others. So the whole like COVID is a bioweapon, the pandemic, that Wayfair is actually child trafficking software and not furniture software.
Oh,
I
that's
saw that one.
interesting.
Yeah.
I have totally misinterpreted everything about that child
Yes.
related way. I thought that I assumed that they had children making their furniture.
No.
Based on the many headlines I saw that had something to do with children and Wayfair, and that's literally what I thought it was. And I was like, there's no surprise to me that children are making
people
that
were
furniture.
using Wayfair to like traffic
To ship children.
I have
under the
grossly
name of like
misinterpreted
cute
that
square sofa with fun cushions or whatever.
I
yeah.
have seen
Interesting.
TikToks, I think, in which someone, quote unquote, receives something from Wayfair
Yeah.
and they pull a baby out of the box instead. I didn't realize it was a thing. Like, I just thought that they were like, oh no, someone sent me a baby instead. Hilarious.
No, that was a very popular
Wow.
conspiracy theory.
Okay.
And so then they on the top part of the triangle, they pass by what they call the anti-Semitic point of no return.
Oh no. Yeah.
Where
Just very specifically.
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
these are theories that promote hatred and violence towards marginalized groups. And
Okay.
so that's where we're talking about like Nazis on the moon and Pizzagate and Holocaust denials and the Sandy Hook was fake. Reptilian overlords, all of those sorts of like absolutely bonkers conspiracy theories. But a lot of those, QAnon,
I was just going to say that, yeah.
a lot of those do actually end up hurting people. And like replacement theory, I would say, is amongst those
Absolutely.
that have a targeted victim that it promotes hatred towards or at least distrust towards. So
This is a really interesting topic because it really puts into light the ethics around like how you present scientific data and also like marketing. And Chris and I were talking about this earlier this week as well, about how there should be ethics in marketing, or there is ethics in scientific data, but not everyone is ethical. And so then you get things out there that are like, vaccines cause autism, a paper that's made by someone who was paid. So that they would write the right things.
And things look
right?
authentic, but
and things look authentic, but they're not, right? And just the ethics in these areas where there's so much power in scientific data, and there's so much power in the way that we're marketed to, and the way that we are like in our social medias now, and all of those things. And it's just a little bit concerning, because sure, we can look at this survey and we can laugh at what we think are absolutely ridiculous things, but I would have maybe said possibly about one of those, about the little group of rich people, because I strongly distrust rich people. Right? Like so
that's fair.
It's just crazy, the ethics that we all need to be ingrained with and just aren't.
When I was because Ashlyn told me about this topic before we started. And one of the things that I was thinking of was just the fact that the internet, the creation of the internet, has probably multiplied, perpetuated the spread
exponentially
of conspiracy theories by like tenfold. Even just like the fact that somebody can come up with a theory, can Google it online and find a community of people who share that belief, like just reinforces it so much more. And so, yeah, I think that's where like creating some sort of an ethical system on marketing, on internet use, on it's tricky, because like I think we all hope that people are
doing the right thing for other people,
and even just the individuals as they're consuming media and stuff are
having discernment.
Yes. But we teach instead math in schools, not always discernment.
Math is not useless, Greg.
I'm not saying it's not, but I'm just saying
the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
That is not math, Christopher.
No, I'm just saying, like, things they teach us in school.
Yeah.
How do I do my taxes legally again, though?
Yeah.
You just don't send
it just happens.
It just happens. Yeah.
Did you know that in most countries it does just happen?
Well, yeah, because
you don't do your taxes.
This is it's to create jobs.
Isn't that
this is
insane?
My conspiracy theory, but I do believe that's like
stress
that's why
hundreds of thousands of people out every year.
Well, yeah,
just
so
to
that
create
they
jobs.
then hire TD or whatever to do their taxes.
Oh.
I mean, maybe, but in
it's definitely
like a lot of
not
European
a
countries,
of it, that's for sure.
you don't do your taxes. Your employer
government
sends
has
in
all the
your
info.
income. Yeah,
like they're the ones who double check what you're doing.
Yeah,
they correct it for you.
Yeah, they know everything already.
So. Why would the government want? So I've got a conspiracy.
Yeah. All right. So this has been Housebound, the podcast, a podcast we made because we needed company. And thank you for joining us. We'd love you if you could send us so many of your conspiracy theories, things that you maybe support or interested. Again, this is a safe space.
Just don't tell us if you support them or not. We'll
We'll
just read them.
Also,
it'll be like interesting.
If you're starting an investigative podcast that's looking into these conspiracy theories, let us know.
We're interested.
We are interested.
Or if you had an interaction with a certain conspiracy theory at some point in your life, I'm curious about those stories. But if you want to connect with us, you can connect with us we're on Facebook and Instagram. We have a Twitter account that occasionally tweets things, and you can mostly find it. Yeah.
It is set up very
a
like
bot named
automated.
Christopher Remple.
Yeah.
And our homepage is at Anchor
perfect.
FM, where you can send us audio messages as well. So we're looking forward to hearing from you.
And if you see any promotional photos of Chris, his beard is just too perfectly groomed to be real. It's photoshopped,
Says
guys.
Greg the Android. Thank you very much for listening,
Greg
everybody.
the beardless.
Let's send us a message. Let's discuss.
Ashlyn, tell us about your new pasta maker.
Oh, it is magical. It's made out of stainless steel and pure joy.
And what's the periodical element letters?
Joy.
For
FUN.
FUN. Oh boy.
So I already owned a hand crank pasta maker, and I've tried using that in the past, but I got one that I paid the least amount of money that I could possibly pay for one.
Okay.
And so every time I roll it, it always just jams into one side.
Oh.
Because I feel like the plates aren't perfectly straight or whatever.
Right.
It's a battle. Also, I don't have 3 arms, so it is impossible to roll everything out.
To roll and then catch,
and
right?
feed and
Yeah.
catch and do all the things.
Gotcha.
So I've made pasta with it before, and it was always thick and chewy and really inconsistently sized, because you'd have the side that was jamming into the corner and the side that had nothing.
Right.
So I used the KitchenAid pasta maker. Wow. So my pasta, it should have been an advertisement for the KitchenAid pasta maker. It was so smooth. It had the perfect texture. I don't even know how it did that. But and you don't even have to roll it out ahead of time.
Yeah.
You just take the whole flipping ball and you jam it on
Shove
the
it
top of it
through.
on the widest setting, and it's
Yeah.
oh, here's your nice strip of pasta. Amazing.
So I thought that there was a trough that you had to buy, a funnel that mounted to the top.
No.
Okay, well there is one that you can buy, but it must be for it's for the
extruders.
It's the one that has the 6 that come down, and then you can
Like
you move a little
spaghetti, probably.
it's a little
Instead of
fishing
flat
line
things.
piece of wire
it's
that
for
cuts
macaroni,
everything off.
bucatini.
And you just slice them off in
What's
chunks.
a bucatini?
Fancy.
It's like a spaghetti that's hollow on the inside.
Why
It's like
are
a
there,
straw.
Why?
Straw
Why
pasta.
are there so many types of pasta?
To pick some extra sauce. Yum sauce.
Okay.
So it does it so quickly and so easily, and you don't have to crank anything.
That's exciting.
And then you do the final knead while it's going through the pasta thing. So you goat it out, and then you fold it, and then you put it in again. Comes out just as smooth. So good. And you can just
knew?
keep moving it so that it gets thinner and thinner, and it got to so thin that I could see the reflection of my hand through it,
Oh
and yet
my
it was still
goodness.
stable and the equal thickness
All
across
way
the entire
across.
strip, and it was a strip this long and the
That's
full
like
width.
a meter
It was amazing.
and 6 inches. That is a lot of pasta.
It was a lot of pasta.
That
There's
is a
so much
lot.
pasta.
Freeze some of it.
No, I just cooked it all.
Ate it all.
Yeah.
You should make red lentil pasta.
We have lentils for you.
We
in
have
fact.
lentils for you, in fact.
I will take lentils, yes.
Okay.
You could
Red
make
lentil
it.
pasta. What's in that? Besides red
lentils?
lentils.
And pasta.
That's all I got. I don't know what else.
Pasta. Because pasta is actually one of the most primitive form of preserving eggs.
Oh, really?
Because with pasta, pasta dough is made up of just 2 ingredients, and that is flour and eggs.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that. I thought that it was more complicated.
Nope.
Than
It's
Hear
the
me
one
out.
where they
I would never have somebody make me bacon and pasta in the morning, though. So when they say preserving eggs, they just mean
I will eat
ancient meal
pasta
prep.
at any time of the day.
No,
Thank you.
preserving. Because it's one of those ones where if you see it on cooking shows that are trying to be more fancy than you actually need to be in order to make the meal, they put the eggs in a little well of flour and then whip it up with a fork to
and they slowly work it
incorporate
in?
the eggs.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pasta. But you don't need to do that because that's just nonsensical. But don't tell the Italian great grandmothers that, because they'll be mad. So you make your
don't
pasta
listen
dough
to this
with
next part, Nona.
yeah. So then you roll everything out and you cut everything out, and all you need to do is just let it dry.
Oh.
So the eggs are not being cooked. They're just being dried.
Interesting.
But then it's shelf stable.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Pasta's very shelf stable.
Super shelf stable.
Yeah.
And if you
that's
just
And
put
it's just
egg
flour-
on the shelf by itself, it would roll around and be.
Well, it would get
cost-efficient.
really rotten really fast. But when you combine it with the flour and then dry it.
That's really interesting. So did you make all of your eggs into pastas to preserve them?
I made 4 eggs into pastas and then 3 eggs into carbonara sauce.
Yum.
It's very
That's
good.
a lot of eggs, actually, for
was.
one meal.
Smart thing. Don't put them all in one
It was
basket.
more like 2 meals.
2 meals. Yeah, because that would be a ton of pasta, like what you
Yep.
showed with your arms.
It just worked so well.
You're just so happy.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're so happy.
I was like so happy the entire time.
She
And
was.
Greg was in the other room.
I was like,
and
I have to
what
take a
was I
video of
saying?
this. I don't know. Like they
You were
saw
like
it.
vibrating in the video.
Yeah.
You were like, like what Odin does when he's like excited about something and he like his like back half wags. Just his whole back half. His front half just stays like looking at you, but his whole back half is wagging.
I'm pretty sure all Greg heard from the other room is me being like, "This works so well! Yeah! It did it again! It looks so good! Greg, this is amazing!" Greg was trying to prep a sermon, but
Oh, that's nice and quiet for you, hey?
Yeah.
Emphasis on trying.
It's okay. Joy is an excellent
it was
thing to have in
magical.
your home.
Yeah. No, it was very joyous. That's why I had to take a video, because I was like, a picture doesn't do any of this justice. So,
That's
Super
good.
funny.
yeah.
I'm glad that it was excellent.
It was the best part of my whole week.
They see me rolling.
Yeah! They... They hated patrolling, trying to catch me
Patrolling.
ravioli, trying to catch me ravioli.
Oh boy.
Try to catch me ravioli.
I'm glad we're still recording.